When I first started looking at a digital console that could actually replace the analog board in my home studio, I felt the same hesitation you probably feel. Do I really need a 40-channel rack-mountable beast? Or am I just adding complexity for the sake of it? The answer isn't simple, but I've spent the last few weeks wiring it into a rehearsal space, running a live stream gig, and even testing it in a small-scale podcast setup just to see where the value really lies. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. In this review I'll break down what the StudioLive Series IISE16 actually does for you, where it shines, and where it might be more than you need. First off, the biggest question people ask is whether a digital console at this price point can actually make a noticeable difference in everyday work. The StudioLive IISE isn't just an analog-to-digital conversion. It's a full-featured mixing environment that lives inside a 19-inch rack. That means you can slide it into an existing rack, or keep it portable on a rolling cart. For anyone who already has a rack of outboard gear, the footprint is a real advantage. You can stack it next to a power amp and a few effects units, and the whole thing still fits in a standard 12U rack space. In my own setup, that allowed me to replace a bulky analog board and free up a whole shelf for a new synth. The trade-off is that you do need to think about rack cooling and cable management, nothing you can't handle, but it's an extra step compared to a tabletop mixer you just set down on a desk. The most immediate practical benefit is the 64x64 USB 2.0 interface. That's a continuous, bidirectional link that lets you send up to 64 inputs and pull 64 outputs straight to your DAW with zero extra drivers. In real-world terms, it means you can record a full band in one pass, monitor each channel separately in your software, and then pull those same mixes back out to the console for a live sound feed. I ran a 3-piece band through the console, captured each mic, DI, and line source into Pro Tools, and then sent the stereo mix back out for the house PA without ever touching a separate audio interface. The workflow feels seamless, and it eliminates the two-box problem where you have a mixer on one desk and an audio interface on another. The downside is that the USB bandwidth caps at 48 kHz, so if you're chasing high-resolution 96 kHz recordings you'll need to rely on an external AD/DA solution via the AVB networking. Speaking of AVB, the Milan-certified network ecosystem is another hidden strength. If you already have a PreSonus or compatible AVB network, you can route audio to and from stage boxes, speakers, and other consoles without a single analog cable. I plugged a Dante-compatible speaker system into the AVB port, and the console automatically recognized it, letting me assign each output to the right zone with a few clicks. That kind of flexibility is priceless for a small venue that needs to reconfigure speaker layouts night after night. However, if you're a solo creator who only ever records into a single computer, the AVB port will sit idle most of the time. You're essentially paying for a feature you may never use. Another practical area where the StudioLive IISE shows its worth is the built-in processing. The console ships with 7 state space-modeled EQs and 8 vintage-inspired compressors, each accessible on every channel. The EQ curves are surprisingly musical. I used the classic model on a vocal mic and got a warm, smooth boost without the harshness you sometimes get from digital parametric EQs. The compressors, especially the Vox style, are great for smoothing out a live drum kit without squashing the transients. Because they're embedded, you can dial in these settings on the fly during a live performance, then save the whole mix as a snapshot for the next show. The only practical weakness I found is that the UI for selecting which EQ or compressor model you're using can feel a bit cluttered when you have many channels active. It takes a few seconds to scroll through the list, and on a frantic gig you might end up defaulting to the first preset rather than hunting for the exact curve you want. Control-wise, the Universal Control app is a nice touch for anyone who doesn't want to be glued to the rack. The iPad app mirrors the console's faders, allowing you to walk around the stage and tweak levels from the front of house. I used it during a live-streamed acoustic set, and being able to adjust the vocal level without stepping behind the rack saved me a lot of awkward pauses. The app does require a stable Wi-Fi connection. In a venue with a spotty network you'll notice a slight lag. If you can't guarantee that, you'll probably want to stick with the physical faders. Now, who should actually consider buying this console? If you're a small to medium venue owner, a church tech director, or a band that regularly records live shows, the combination of rack mountability, deep DAW,